Hey, what's going on? Welcome to Sofrep. I am super excited to have my next returning author, guest, friend on the show. But first, my name is Rad, and I got to remind you to go check out our merch store, right? Sofrep.com/merch. Go check it out. We got branded Sofrep items, not to be confused with Brandon Webb, the creator of Sofrep. And then we also have a book club, and that is sofrep.com/book-club. And you can find all sorts of great books that have been curated for your brain to read. Now, speaking of reading, you may have already read 22 of the 23 books that we're about to talk about with Brad Thor, New York Times #1 bestselling author. Brad Thor is on the show. Welcome back.
Hey, Rad. Thanks for having me back. It's great to be here.
You know, I'm excited to have you back, and you're a heavy hitter, bro. There's just no joke about it. Okay. New York Times bestselling author is not a joke. Oh, where did it just go? I had your whole little dossier here. Let me see if I can find it real quick. Hold on one second here. So Brad Thor has written Red Cell books based off of time in Red Cell with the CIA government, correct, Brad?
No, I am not allowed to write about anything in the Red Cell. That is verboten. I call the U.S. Or the Analytic Red Cell program, the Las Vegas of government programs, and they were very clear that what happens in the Red Cell stays in the Red Cell. So, but because of being a thriller author, kind of in that genre of Ludlum or Clancy, I got invited into the Red Cell program to help them war game out potential terrorist scenarios and different attacks, the bad guys, different targets they might pick here and abroad. So, but yeah, everything that I developed for them stays there. But what was cool is as the son of a Marine, I got to serve my country, not by picking up a rifle, but by using the gray matter between my ears to help maybe come up with things for the federal government that had helped keep the country safe.
Right. So you go into a brainstorm session and come up with all these scenarios within the Red Cell organization. Mm-hmm. So you did do that.
Yeah.
And then those things stay there. So I almost got you to say, yeah, book, all my books. Brad, all my books are Red Cell. But no, you just use your creative power.
Exactly. And in fact, there was one attack scenario that I came up with in Red Cell, and then it actually happened halfway around the world and made international headlines. And I said to my contact, the person that I interact with the most there, I said, hey, this is all over the news. Can I go on Fox and talk about this and tell them how we developed this idea in the Red Cell unit? And he said, absolutely not. There's only one scenario they have ever released publicly from the Red Cell unit, and that was about terrorists exploiting our preparations for a hurricane, whether that means attacking a shelter where people were pulled together, or you know how we have these marshalling yards where we move rescue equipment out of the path of a hurricane so that if we needed to get so that when you need to get back in, you've got all your trucks, whether that be for restoring power or ambulances, whatever it might be, that get out of the path. So that's the only thing they've ever publicly released from the Red Cell program.
So cool, bro.
Yeah, but
so
it's a cool program.
That you got into that. It is. And for the listeners that might be learning about Brad for the first time, or for those of you that have returned and heard him talk about this, it is a very interesting program that he was in, where he's just writing out scenarios about what possibly could happen. And then how do we prevent the what ifs and could happens? Now, I have a little description. I pulled it back up, and I'm going to talk a little bit about your book called Shadow of Doubt. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's my new summer thriller, Shadow of Doubt.
That's right. And it follows Scot Harvath, who is just this person who winds up in all these different predicaments. And in a world shrouded in shadows, where doubt is the only weapon, can one spy expose the truth? #1 New York Times and #1 Wall Street Journal bestselling author Brad Thor delivers his latest high-octane thriller. A mysterious cargo plane flanked by a squadron of Russia's most lethal fighters has just taken off from a remote airbase. Closely monitored by the United States, no one inside the Pentagon has any idea where it's going or what it's carrying. A high-level Russian defector, a walking vault of secrets that could shatter the West, seeks asylum in Norway. Across the continent, in the heart of Paris, a lone French agent stumbles upon a conspiracy so explosive it could ignite a global firestorm. As alarm bells ring in Washington, the CIA's most lethal weapon, Scot Harvath, is forced to choose between his conscience and his country. You'll be left breathless as you read as Harvath is swept into a whirlwind of double agents, international intrigue, and heart-stopping chases. This is all coming out of you.
Yeah. Yeah, that's it. That's my job, is to give people a great toes in the sand, book in the hand, summer thriller, beach read, get them all excited. One of the cool things that I hear from people is, I bought my brother the book, or I bought my husband or my dad the book, and they weren't readers. And you've got these great, short, crisp, cinematic chapters. You leave each one with a cliffhanger, and you've turned these people into my family. You've turned them into readers. And so that's always music to an author's ears, to know that somebody stopped reading years ago but picked up one of my books and loves the way I write, loves the stories I tell, and it's turned them back into a reader. So that's probably the nicest thing.
Obviously, millions of people think that about you.
Yeah.
Millions.
You know what? The other thing that is equally makes me just feel terrific is when I have people say, I've decided I'm going to go into the military after reading your books. So I get young people that have read the books and stuff and say, you know what? I respect what these people do in your books, and I want to go serve the country as well. And that, those come in every once in a while, and that's probably the most prized compliment that I've ever received as an author.
It's just to spark that little bit inside of someone to say, hey, what's it like if I went the next step, and then maybe go join, and then who knows what Scot Harvath or what character you can become once you get in there, right? Everybody's so cool, has such a cool rock star story to tell. You're just coming from within your own rock star self to bring Scott to these books. And again, he's been all over the place. I mean, he's just like found the fountain of youth.
Well, the fountain of youth is performance enhancing drugs. I readily admit that in the books, that Harvath is, he's in his 40s and stuff. And I know a lot of guys that are still kicking indoors and shooting bad guys in the face. And all of them, there's nothing in the rule book that says guys that go down range, at least guys like Harvath that are kind of on the dark side, there's nothing that says they can't give themselves every single advantage they need. So competing with the younger generation of guys coming up behind him and not wanting to come out of the field, Harvath readily does a certain amount of injectables that give him the edge, and add a little bit to his bench press, shave a little bit off of his 100-yard dash. And that's just reflective of the guys that I know, like I said, that are still out there doing some of this country's most dangerous work.
Do you ever foresee your Scott meeting up with maybe another character, that's very popular in other drama or other thrillers that, they're like walking down the same parish street? In his book, he's going to the store, to the drugstore.
We've done that a couple of times, a handful of us. And it's about all you can do is to say, okay, we agree. You can make a mention of my guy. I'll make a mention of your guy. And that's it. Because none of us who are writing a book a year can ever sit down and write a book together. I mean, it's just, it's near impossible to do an entire book with two characters and still crank out your own individual book in a year. But yeah, a bunch of us have done that, where we've mentioned other people in the books, or what we've said is that our character was reading a book by the actual real life author. That's another thing we've done back and forth too, which is kind of fun because a lot of us, we share the same readers, right? So if you're reading a Brad Thor book, there's other thriller authors you're reading during the year and vice versa. So it is kind of a nice Easter egg when fans stumble across, if they love a certain author and then they're reading the book and they hear that author mention another author they love. That's fun stuff.
Right? Like, say your character Scott's at the airport, just looking at, he's observing somebody in the, where all the books and the candy are, and people sign the books, authors sign their books, and he's just looking at a book, but it's like one of Jack Carr or Brandon Webb have a book, and then he puts it down and he goes after the objective. It's like, so I don't know.
I did that with Jack, and Jack has done that with me. So we've both done that back and forth. So that's a part that I should have cited that example. That's a perfect example of what Jack and I have done. So James Reese has had a Brad Thor book, or Scot Harvath has had a Jack Carr book. That kind of a thing. So yeah, that's fun to do.
No, I love that. And that's just been in my own head, but I'm sure that you've already been doing it. You're New York Times bestselling author. You guys already have a vision. Okay. People with visions of your vision. They're like, hey, we know what you want to do. Here's a storyboard. You're like, how'd you know? Now, when we find Scott, is he going into Norway? Are we going to be reading about Norway and what's going on there?
So Harvath, a couple of books ago, crossed paths with to back up, and you've got a very smart audience that knows a lot about what's happening in the world. And I'm going to say something, and probably 99% of your audience knows this, that Norway has an all-female special forces detachment. It's called the Jaeger Troop. And Harvath, several years ago, came across a woman from that unit in the Norwegian Special Forces who had left because she got sick of doing hearts and minds bullshit in Afghanistan. She's like, yeah, I don't want to sit down over tea with another group of women in Afghanistan again. I signed up to kick indoors and shoot bad guys. And she left the Norwegian armed forces and became an intelligence operative. And that's where Harvath meets her. And she's tall, she's gorgeous, she's younger than Harvath. And he says, listen, the only thing I've got over this chick is that I've been at the game longer than she has. But other than that, she's faster, smarter, more talented than I ever was. And he freely admits it. And the two of them end up falling in love and they get engaged. And so what ends up happening in this book is Harvath is let me set the stage better this way. For those who aren't familiar with my books, I tell people that my thrillers, the Brad Thor thrillers, are like the James Bond movies. If there is a new Bond movie at your local movie theater and you've never seen a Bond movie before, you can go see that one. It doesn't matter if you've seen the earlier ones. You're not missing anything. Same thing with my books. So in this book, Harvath has just come off an op where he had to rescue a hostage. And because he's staying in the field so much and he's refusing to come back and help kind of spot the next generation of talent, like his agency really wants him back in DC. They don't want him going out in the field anymore, but he's refusing. And so what they've done is they've increased his ops tempo. They're giving him very little downtime, which is extremely dangerous, number one, to not give him time to kind of rest and recuperate. But they're basically trying to beat him into submission, to finally have him say, all right, that's it. I'm out. I don't want to be in the field anymore. So Harvath has just come off an op. He's turned off his phone and basically given the big middle finger back to Northern Virginia and said, I'm not doing anything. The world can burn down in the next week, but I'm taking a week off. I'm going to go see Solveig, my fiance, in Oslo, because she's been promoted now at the Norwegian Intelligence Service. She's a deputy director. She's got next to no vacation time at all. So if he wants to see her, he has to go to her. So he's on his way to Oslo. Plane lands, and the station chief for the CIA in Oslo meets him at the airport and says, there's something really, really serious we need you to do. And he's like, what is it? She's like, no, not here. Not till we get back to the skiff at the embassy in Oslo. And when they get to the skiff, she lays out what's going on. And she says, the Norwegians have got information. And we want you to keep your ears open and ask your fiance a couple of questions. And he says, what? You want me to spy on my fiance? He's like, F you, I'm not doing it. And then the CIA, anticipating that he would say, F you, blackmail him. And they say, if you don't, we know something from a prior op that you were on that you thought nobody saw, that nobody knew. And so he's kind of caught between two. He did something morally ambiguous, and now they're asking him to do something morally wrong in his estimation. This is a woman he's going to marry. He understands Norway's and allied intelligence. Their services allied with ours. They're part of NATO. But he's presented right off the bat with this incredibly difficult thing. It's either, submit and do what the CIA wants him to do, or, be honest with his fiance.
Exposed.
Yeah. And say, I'm not going to, they wanted me to spy and I'm not going to do it. So that's kind of the moral heart of what's at the center of this. But the whole thing is an action thriller with lots of intrigue and all this kind of stuff. But that's kind of the hardest thing. Harvath's being pressed into service against his will by the CIA, by the deputy director of operations at the CIA.
All he wants to do is see his girl.
That's all he wants. He wants a week off. This guy's, the first thing he asks for when he gets on the plane to go to Norway is Ziplocs full of ice to put on his battered body. And he's got a bourbon and he's had the shit kicked out of him, and he just wants a week off.
He just wants to decompress.
Yeah.
He just wants a week off. Yeah. A week off.
He doesn't even need R&R. Just one R. Just one R would be fine.
R.
Just R. Just a little R.
Just let me chill. Let me just buckle my seatbelt. Yeah. Let me just sit down,
Exactly.
But no, they're like, you're not going to sit down. Just get up real quick. He's like, he's just going to sit down. He can't.
Mm-hmm, that's exactly it.
That's exactly it. Go, go, go. And then they're trying to overload him, but get all they can out of him at the same time. Like, they don't want the mission to fail, but they want him to basically quit one day.
Yeah, they want him to come back and ride a desk, and they basically want him to, step off the field and be a coach. You know, and I've equated him for the longest time. I equated him to Tom Brady, that he would know when it's time to step off the field,
Right.
that it isn't for anybody else to tell him it's time to come off the field and help scout and train different players. He'll tell you when he's ready to come off the field. And that's it's a big thing. And at the very end of the book, there's something very interesting that happens that deals with that question about, should he be in the field? Should he be in the office? He's kind of been playing the hokey pokey with 1 foot in, 1 foot out, trying to placate all the powers that be in Northern Virginia. And there's something very interesting that happens at the end of Shadow of Doubt that kind of is an interesting moment of development in Harvath's character. I don't want to spoil it because it's a fun twist at the end of the book, but there's a little Easter egg there at the end.
And I think that when our conversation comes out, your book will just be releasing out there. So everybody should go check it out. It'll be released everywhere, including at your local airport.
Yeah. Yes. Hopefully, knock on wood. That's where a lot of people find them.
I was flying into San Francisco early June, and I literally walked into the airport to see if I've seen any of you guys who I interview this book on there. And lo and behold, yours was there.
That's awesome.
I was like, really like, all right, that's cool. Brad's is there. All right. I was like, let me see who else is here. Is anybody else is here? And I was like, Brad's is there. That's all I needed to see.
Oh, that's cool.
So, I mean, still in June, your previous book is still that's a big deal to be at the airport's bookstores.
Well, and you know what? With the new book coming out, so airport bookstores, you used to be able to, if you're a big bestseller, you could sit there all year. That really doesn't happen anymore. And I'm going to guess you maybe saw last summer's book, not in hardcover, but in paperback. And that
San Francisco airport.
In SFO, yeah, because what happens is they try to put out your paperback a month before your hardcover's coming out. So that's kind of you get in the airport twice, really, in a year. So you're around for maybe 5 or 6 weeks with your hardcover when it comes out. And then 11 months later, that hardcover is a paperback, and that goes in a month before the next hardcover comes out. Because there seems to be less and less space in bookstores. There's more books coming out. So the churn is a lot. If you've got a phenomenon like the Da Vinci Code, that'll be there all year, you know? That if the sales are such, so it is kind of a interesting thing that the business has changed so much that those of us that used to be in year round, you know, we're doing it twice a year now. So,
well, SFO has it as June.
Good. It's funny. I was just up in Sonoma. I got home last night from Sonoma, and I didn't go through SFO. I went Dallas to Santa Rosa, and because I didn't want to do the drive from SFO 2 hours north. It is a drive. Yeah, I've done that drive a bunch. I had a buddy that got married up there a little while ago, and when I found out that I could do Dallas to Santa Rosa, I'm like, oh, that's good. That's good.
That's what. Yeah, because we go from Utah to San Fran, and then rent some type of SUV from San Fran, and then drive up to Mendocino.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, really nice drive. Go through all of the different, Napa Valley, Sonoma, the whole vineyards.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it is. And we stay at a friend's house who's a director. I'm not going to say his name, but it's a very nice house. It's like you go into his backyard and you're almost in the sequoias and you see slugs, these yellow slugs that are like so big that when we went to the redwoods with our families to go explore the redwoods, I was like, there's got to be like a 60-foot slug around here somewhere. I'm like, I am so minute, little on the floor. I am like crumbs of sequoia tree branches.
Trees.
It's like so big, so glorious. And we walked in there was a sequoia zoo up there. We walked through their whole tree system that they have. You're like 100 feet up. And then it's still like another 150, 200 feet up for the tops of the trees. Amazing. It's amazing up there.
It's beautiful. Like nothing else. And for those listening who have never been up to this part of the world that Rad and I are talking about, this part of the country, it is a must see. It's so beautiful. So I go up to Sonoma and we were all along the Russian River and we were doing a lot of the forests and everything. And it was just, I wasn't up there doing wine tasting stuff. I was up there doing a guy's weekend kind of a thing. And I love those trees. They're just beautiful. It's an incredible part of the country.
It's all about the nature around us. I'm wearing like my boonie hat. I've got on like my Cat Pat military uniform. And my wife's like, oh, that's got a lot of neon green in your Cat Pat uniform, Canadian pattern. I was like, yeah, but once we got into the woods up there, she's like, I understand why they made the Cat Pat, the Pacific Northwest colors. Like in Canada, it's like they got trees like that. It blends in. I'm like, where did Rad go? It was great. I mean, really, what a great time to wrap myself around nature and just there's a whole ecosystem just raining down on you, and it's not even like raining anywhere else.
Yeah, it's pretty special.
We need Scott to go meet Rad in the redwoods.
There you go. There you go. That'll be a good scene. Gather some
next mission.
Yeah, here's your next mission, or you've got some intel that you got to pass off to Harvath, and we do it out there.
That's right. That's right, dude. I'll be his Uber driver to SFO. Oh, that's awesome, dude. You're awesome. I'm so glad that you got back on the show. I'm happy that you're still writing and that you're pumping out books. And, when David is your
publicist
guy over at publicist. I'm just trying to give him a shout out. He's always like, Rad, let's get Brad on. I'm like, how can we not? Brad and Rad together. Yeah. Sofrep.
Well, I made you that joke before that I've got my buddies that take that line out of the Jamie Kennedy movie where he talks about the mean streets of Malibu, and his name is Brad, and he calls himself B-Rad.
B-Rad, yo, what's up?
What's up, B-Rad?
B-Rad, what's up? Oh, Malibu's Most Wanted.
That's the movie. Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks, Jamie Kennedy, for having a file in my brain there.
Funny. Yeah, you, that Malibu's Most Wanted. B-Rad.
Yo, what's up? I'm Malibu's Most Wanted. Yo, what's up? Yo, oh, man. Okay, Scott's got to meet him, too. We'll have an Uber. It'll be Scot Harvath, Jamie Kennedy, and me.
Ride share.
And you.
Yeah,
right. Exactly. An executive version, please. Just because I'm 6'5". Now, are you signing the books that you see at the airport? Or can somebody
normally,
possibly...
when I go through an airport and I see the books, I always stop and sign them, all the time. And that's kind of fun, too. People pass through the airport and there'll be a sticker on there signed by the author. Yeah.
Oh, is that right? Do the airport attendants, so they you're over there just signing in a book?
I always ask first. I always ask first. I don't want to get tased on my way to catch my flight. So I always walk up. But that's me, right? I'm the son of a Marine. My mom was a flight attendant. Yep. Raised in the Midwest, and so being polite was a very big part of our upbringing as kids. So I always introduce myself at the counter, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm here. I'm happy to sign anything you got. I saw you've got." And first, I make sure they have the book, right? And then I ask them. I'll bring up a copy and show them, "Hey, here's the author photo. It really is me." And then, excuse me, can I sign for you? And then oftentimes they'll have stickers that they put on the book so that it pops that it's signed by the author. Wow. So I don't just kind of go in covert and sign. That's silly. It helps draw attention to the book, and maybe somebody will buy your book as opposed to somebody else's if they see that it's signed because it has a perceived increase in value. So
100%. Yeah, you just touch it. Maybe you just thumb through the pages. Maybe there's a bookmark in the middle that you've signed. Yeah. Who knows? Yeah. Go buy the book.
That's it.
Buy a book. Go get a book. Go find a book. Get a book. Buy a book. Barnes & Noble, local bookstores. His books are also in very mom and pop bookstores. So if there's one in your area and you don't even really go read that much, go to their store and buy a book.
Thank you.
Buy his book.
Thank you.
Go buy Brad's book, Brad Thor, right here, who we're talking with. It goes a long way. And also, if you're out there and you do read the book electronically, I believe that leaving a review goes a long way for the author. So whether you find the book on Kindle or
audio, hardcover, softcover, reviews are very, very helpful. And so now you have a choice about whether you actually just rate it and you pick how many stars you want to give it. And you can also write something. It used to be that you had to write something for the review to actually pop up online. But now you can just, if you're in a hurry, you can just give it X amount of stars if you like it. So that's really helpful. And, Rad, I always tell people that that's like having a virtual suggestion box in the lobby of my business when somebody takes the time to write a review. And I don't work for the publisher. I work for the readers. The people who read my books are my employers. So I am very interested to hear what they think. Did they like this? Did they not like something about the book? Do they want to see more of something? All that kind of stuff is really helpful because I'm a small business person. I'm constantly trying to improve my product because I want my employers, my readers, to be as happy as possible. So,
and a reader has their mind wrapped around the book and the character and all the things that are going on. And they may see something or think something, and you can suggest that. And Brad might say, oh, you know what? They were right. They should be in an Uber with Brad.
There you go. And Jamie Kennedy. Be Rad.
All of a sudden, you're going to get flooded. I can fit. I'll fit. It'll make it all work out. No, I love books. I love books that are so intriguing that they can be turned into a movie or a TV show in your brain.
Yeah.
Where, like you said, you don't have to go back and read the previous book. It's cool, but it'll put you in a whole different realm because that book is its own entity. And then you can follow the next book and the next book, like you said, about Bond. right? You don't have to go back and watch the first James Bond to see, there's multiple James Bonds as well.
Right. And
so it's like,
that's my experience when I'm writing the books. It's very cinematic. So when I write each of these, it plays out across the movie screen of my mind. And one of the biggest things you have to do as a thriller writer is when you're coming up on the next scene that you're writing, you have to think about you look at the first 4 things that pop into your head of what could happen. And the rule is you throw all those out. Because if you have 4 things that immediately jump into your head as to what should happen next, probably the reader does too. So if you're going to jettison those first 4 things and play around with 5, 6, or 7 that jumps into your head, that's where you're going to be successful, because you're giving the reader something they didn't expect. And that keeps them guessing, keeps them turning those pages, keeps it. Yeah. That's where the intrigue and the twists come from, is getting rid of the first things that hop into your mind and really trying to reach for things that nobody saw coming, maybe not even you, the author.
I've read a book. It was really good. It was about a Navy SEAL. He got stuck on an aircraft carrier. There were all these different characters in it. And every time I flipped a page to read this book, I was reading all these characters, and I didn't realize that I was introduced to all the characters that are going to be involved in the shenanigans. And I was like reading more. And then all of a sudden I was like, it was the doctor. I read about him already. Wait a second here. Yeah. It just pulls you in, you're like, wait, he was supposed to be a good guy. Wait, how did they trick me?
Good twist. That's hard to do. There's an old saying that says, easy reading is damn hard writing. And that's very, very true.
See Sam run.
Yeah.
No kidding, dude.
That's it, man.
4 pages, platinum. I mean, even like Jimmy Fallon writes children's stories and has them they're just like 4 or 5 pages long, and they're just like these little, opens the wash your hands, dry your hands, close the book.
Yeah, that's not exactly what I'm talking about. Easy reading being damn hard writing. But yeah, so for you to sit down with, like I said, my books have very short cinematic chapters. It's what turns a lot of people back onto reading, is that the books are fun and they're fast, and you close them a bit smarter, I hope. You learn a little bit about what's going on both at home and abroad, which I slide in surreptitiously. It's, I'm in the business of entertaining people, not educating them. That's not my job. It's not supposed to be a textbook. But if I do talk about something that happens, in the SEAL community or in the anywhere else in the special operations community, I find some cool thing and I slide it in the book, and now you know about it. That's fun for me to do. And people tell me they love to read my books with their phones out or their laptops open, because they'll come across something and they'll go, there's no way that's real. Thor made that up. And then they Google it and they're like, oh my God, that's a real thing. And so that's fun for me too, is to find all these really cool real life things to put into the books. Yeah. And that's why I say what I do is faction, not fiction, but faction, where you don't know where the facts end and the fiction begins.
Freaking Willy Wonka over here. I'm going to tell you right now, dude. I love that. Now, I'm just kind of cruising over some of your things, and I see that, Brad Thor, Shadow of a Doubt is out there, but there's also a record.
So we did a playlist. And
I don't know if I can show this here. You kind of see like the record on the Brad Thor site. There's a record for Shadow of a Doubt here.
So that was just some art that my designer made up. If you go to my website, bradthor.com, I picked a bunch of music that was either referenced in the book or in keeping with kind of the mood of the book. And in fact, a big op happens in a certain part of the south of France. And I picked this place because it's really cool. I didn't know a lot about it. And as I was doing the research, I found out that's where the Rolling Stones, when they all had these massive drug problems and we were being hounded by the press and were like teetering on the edge of bankruptcy, they went down to this little peninsula in the south of France to record Exile on Main Street. And so I put that in on that Spotify playlist that we did for Shadow of Doubt, because my readers really like that. They love to kind of listen to the music, get in the mood for the new book, and it's just kind of a fun. That's why I have the website, is to do extra stuff for the readers that's fun for them.
I'm blown away. I'm blown away that there's a record to go along. So you have a record of Shadow of a Doubt for your book that goes along with the book.
Now, I have a Spotify playlist. That record
so
was
not
an actual record. That's just the designer created that as an image to have. So if you click on that, it takes you to a Spotify playlist. So there isn't a piece of vinyl. I mean, that would be really cool, but I'd have to do royalties out to all these people, right? If I did a compilation album.
I feel that.
Spotify doesn't cost me a dime. So
No.
it's just fun. But it looks like a real record, doesn't it?
I mean, well, my family, we're record obsessed. My kids love records.
So do we. I mean, we really think vinyl is cool. So when my designer came back with that, it's like that album is sitting on red shag carpeting in like a wood paneled basement. I mean, he captured kind of this 70s vibe with that,
bro,
which is what I wanted to do with the music that was covered in there. So it's just kind of there you go.
There's my lighter for you, dude.
There you go. Yeah, I got the lighter going.
With you, dude, that's legit.
So that's fun.
I mean,
yeah.
BradThor.com has what we're talking about. If you go check out BradThor.com, you'll see really clean website on the phone too. Like it's almost like it's just straight to app, looking at your scrolling on it. It's very easy, Deadfall.
Last summer's book, Deadfall.
Yep. Deadfall, Brad Thor, Deadfall. In fact, now that I see Deadfall, it is probably the newer book coming out that I saw.
Oh, you saw the paperback edition or the trade paperback.
Yes. Yeah, because it was red.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It said Brad Thor in red.
Red.
On the book.
Yeah.
You're like, wait. I swear it was.
Okay. Well, listen, I'm just thrilled you saw a Brad Thor book at a major airport bookstore. That's pretty good to be 24 books total into my career, and I'm still in the bookstores. So I'm thrilled. I'll take whatever it was you saw, Rad. I'm happy.
International airport, homie. Yeah. I'll tell you right now. Yeah, no, it's great. Brad Thor, Shadow of a Doubt. The book will be coming out August
6th.
So pick it up wherever you want to pick it up, and you can download it, but I would say go buy it from a local bookstore if it's available at their store. Now, Brad, bro, when are you going to bring this to the TV screen so we can just binge it?
Great question. So we just announced our television program a couple of months ago. So we've got an awesome team pulled together. We got an A+ team. So it can be, some people get very lucky and get a show right out of the gate. Sometimes people get a lot of options, which is essentially renting with the option to buy at different studios. So what we had happen was, let me see, my camera went out of focus all of a sudden. Sometimes I gotta bring it back. I don't know what's going on with that. It's a little weird. There we go.
There you are. There you go.
So we've got this awesome team pulled together. So we've got Steve Lightfoot, who wrote The Punisher. So both seasons of The Punisher with John Bernthal that were on Netflix. He's our writer. He's fantastic. We've got Chad Stahelski, the director of the John Wick movies, as the director. So there'll be plenty of headshots. And then we've got Howard Gordon, who was the force behind 24 and Homeland, as the executive producer. So legit. And we're at Sony right now. So Sony is our studio with this, and we're doing a television series, and we will we're supposed to know by Christmas where it's gonna air. So we don't know if that's Netflix, we don't know if it's Amazon Prime, Apple. Obviously Howard Gordon did Homeland at HBO. So Homeland was at HBO or Showtime. I should know that, and I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, so we've got from now to the end of the year to figure out where Sony's going to place it. But so we're doing a TV series with just an unbelievable powerhouse A-list team. So we haven't picked an actor.
Everybody behind it, writers.
So everybody, the whole creative force is there. And then once we place it, I think the next step is then we try to figure out who the lead is going to be.
I think I'm looking at him.
I wish. Listen, bro. I asked them, Rad, if I could be in it. And their joke was, they're like, yeah, you can be in it. I'm like, Stephen King is in everything. I'm like, I got to be able to get a role. And they're like, yeah, we know you want to be on the front of a stack, kicking in a door, going, put the weapon down, put the weapon down. They said, but it could be you standing there with the mop going, sorry, sir, office is closed till tomorrow morning.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
So I don't know what they'll do for me, but I was like, guys, I want to have at least one line in this thing, or an appearance like Hitchcock used to show up in all his movies.
You should just like Stan Lee.
Yeah, Stan Lee's in,
Bro, he's in every single thing. And even before he knew he was passing, they filmed like 5 endings for 5 other movies.
That's awesome. I just don't want the half a second that Jimmy Buffett got in Jurassic Park or Jurassic World. It's like if you blink, you miss it. He's got 2 margaritas and he's running away from like the pterodactyls or whatever. Yeah. So I'd love to have something. So we'll see. It all comes down to the director, but he's awesome. He's super, super cool. He's one of the coolest dudes I've ever met. He's an ex-stuntman. He's really awesome, super smart and very creative.
That's awesome.
And right now he's redoing the movie Highlander. that Christoph Lemb.
There can be only
there
one.
Can be only one. So he's currently,
right.
as we're sitting here recording this podcast,
Dude.
he's doing Highlander. So he's going to come off Highlander and we'll go to Harvath.
So awesome. Such an awesome movie, first of all, Highlander. It's so hard because Queen, as soon as they were like, they wrote the whole soundtrack.
Yeah, that was a great...
Freddie Mercury.
Christophe Lambert was the French actor who starred in it alongside Sean Connery.
Right.
Yeah.
That's right.
I'm very excited for the reboot.
Dude, that's going to be legit. Yeah, because there could be only one. And also, funny note is that the guy that has the safety pins on his neck, the main, the bad guy that's looking for, Highlander, he's SpongeBob's. He's Krusty Krabs.
No, he's
Mr.
not.
Krabs.
Is he really?
Oh, SpongeBobby boy. That's me, boy. He's from Shawshank Redemption. Yeah. What's his name? Oh my gosh, it's blowing me away. His name's Clancy, right?
Oh, I can't remember. I had no idea that the guy did the voice of SpongeBob.
Better to burn out than to fade away.
Yeah, that's it. Oh,
that's Mr. Krabs.
I know that guy now. He does have a very distinct voice. Did he play one of the guards in Shawshank? Is that what he did?
Yes.
Yeah.
He was the big guard in Shawshank.
Yeah, you're right. I picture him from Highlander and I can picture him from Shawshank.
Oh, yeah. Better to burn out than to fade away. He's in the church.
Look at you giving me pop culture references. I'm now better educated in the realm of pop culture thanks to you, Rad.
Well, I love that movie, dude. That Highlander, that movie. And then just, boy, I'm 46 years old.
Yeah, it's still,
and that
was like early 80s, I think.
Yeah.
A classic movie. So badass.
I can't wait for your books to become something that we can watch and see what the director and everybody puts together for a vision that we have in our head. I remember my dad went and read Hunt for Red October. Yes. It was a very popular book. Tom Clancy came out on a movie.
Yep.
We went and watched it right away. I remember we went to the theater and my dad left. And I was like, did you like it? I loved it. I didn't read the book. He read the book. He's like, yeah, it was good. What? I was like, what do you mean it was good?
It's different, right? And that's one of the things that I understand going into this is that there's going to be things they can't do word for word, page for page out of the book. It's just, it can't happen. There's multiple reasons why they have to change things. But what these guys said is they said, that's why we're making you a writer on this, Brad, is so that if we do have to change, you can do it in such a way that you can go to your readers and say, okay, it is based on the first season of shows is based on this book. We made a couple of changes, but there's actually a we in it. I was there in the room for every single change. And I actually think these changes are good, let's say, right? Because I'm not going to say, hey, that's cool if it's a sucky change. I'm going to say, guys, you can't change it like this. All those guys jumped on the helicopter with MP5s, 3 days ago. There's no way they picked up a HK-416 in the middle of downtown Philadelphia. It's not the way that's going to work. So, but if you need them to have an HK-416 for whatever reason further down along the line, let's make sense of that right now, kind of a thing. So you'll have a continuity expert on it that their job is to make sure that, like, if there's a bite out of the sandwich in this scene, it's still out of the sandwich in the next scene. But I created this universe, so I can't tell them how to make the move or the TV series, but I can be there to at least say, guys, just understand that if you make this change here, this is what it affects downstream. So I want to make sure that any of that kind of stuff is done in such a way that we keep the most important people happy in this, which are the readers, because that's the hope. That's what Amazon and Netflix and everybody else hopes, that if they create the Harvath series, if they spend the money to bring it to life, that my fans, my readers will want to come to see it. And I'm cool with that, but we have to keep those people in the number one, in the pole position. Everything we do has got to be in service of a great production. But we have to keep in mind, we can't just call it Harvath and it has nothing to do with the books. Right. So you got to, it's a tightrope. It's a high wire act, basically, Rad. Keep everybody happy. That's a hard thing to do.
It is, because you really want to keep the people in the front seat happy, which is the reader. And,
Amen.
You're really just writing as an entertainer. And then, and it's good that you're on board. So any pre-production, production, post-production, it's like, you're like, hey, they would have gone this way, that way.
Exactly. Because I'm going to still write books, right? Yeah. These people are still going to be my bosses. We get a season. Hopefully we get another season. We get 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever. Right. But I'm still going to write a book a year. These are still the most important people in the world to me. I will love every television viewer we get. That's great. But I'm still going to be an author and I still want to write books. And those people have given me an incredible life. I send my kids to college. They had braces, all this kind of stuff because of the readers. So the readers will always be the VIP for me. Those are always going to be the people I'm most focused on and I want to keep happy.
I love that. And you know what? I can't get mad at you having kids with braces. And I love the respect that you have for saying such a thing of, you respect where your fans are spending their money. They're coming to you, they're purchasing your stuff, and they're saying, we appreciate your writing. I mean, bro, that's got to be really cool to go down as an American author.
Yeah, it is really cool. And they are spending their money with me. And the one thing that's great about money is you can make more of it. Your time, though, is something that's finite, that you cannot make more of. So if you're going to read a Brad Thor book, it is incumbent upon me to give you the best, most exciting, most heart-thumping adventure I can. And if you're going to come and watch a TV series that has my name on it, it is also incumbent upon me to give you the best, most high adrenaline, most action-packed, most intriguing, the most interesting adventure I'm capable of giving you. So that's the son of the United States Marine in me, is always excel, never settle, never settle for mediocrity, never settle for the way things were yesterday. It's keep pushing forward, keep getting better.
Well, I love that. I usually go longer on my podcast, but I think we've kind of touched base on everything that we need to hear. And I've had your time for 45 minutes today, and I know you're very busy, and there's other airports that you have to go and sign books in, bro. And are you going to be doing the whole book tour? Will we be able to catch you before I let you go? Will we be able to catch you at some spots around the country?
So I'm doing a few cities around the country, starting first week of August, and I got the whole tour up at bradthor.com, so you can see the cities, where I'm going to be, when I'm going to be there. And if you get your orders in, I'm still doing personalized copies of the books. So if you want to get a signed personalized copy, there's information on bradthor.com on how to do that too.
Okay, so what we have bradthor.com. All right, and that's going to be down below, so you can click on it if you've followed us on sofrep.com or any of our YouTube or Spotify. Go ahead and click on bradthor.com. Make sure you check out his book, Shadow of a Doubt. It is number one already, okay? Just know it, all right? And when you go to the airport, if you happen to be fortunate enough to be able to fly somewhere in your lifetime, check the airport's bookstore and see if an author that you love has a book, because you can grab it and read that on a plane and not worry about logging onto Wi-Fi, trying to get your phone to any of that. Nothing. It's all you can just read your book. They call it raw dogging it on a flight.
Thanks, man.
So I
appreciate you having me on the show and sharing me with your fantastic audience. You're always very kind to me every year, Rad. I really appreciate you.
Thank you for being repeat. Thank you for writing books. Thanks for making me smarter, allowing me to read things that are cool, that are interesting, that I want to read, right? It's really true. It's like, how do you get someone to read something, right? They got to want to like to read it. And then when you start reading, you turn the page, and then there's a twist. That's what you do, bro. And I don't want to give away too much more, but go check out all of his books, right? 23 Harvath books. Yep. Go check them out. And, Brad Thor, I keep wanting to talk to you, but I'm going to let you go and say thank you so much for being on Sofrep. And this will be just a pleasure to have you back. Again, check out our merch store. Check out our book club at sofrep.com/book-club. And thanks to Brandon Webb, who also is an author and allows me to be his Audible guy. I appreciate that.
He's awesome. Thanks, great writer as well.
Great writer as well. Well, thank you, Brad. Thanks to your father, United States Marine Corps. All right. Semper Fi to him, always and forever. What's his name?
Brad Thor Sr.
Brad Thor Sr. is immortalized on this podcast. So thank you so much, sir. And you have a nice day.
Thanks, Brad. You too.
Okay. Cheers. We're out. Peace.
You've been listening to SOFREP Radio.